All right. Well, guys, I appreciate that. And that's exactly why we're here. Every one of you exemplify the leadership class and what we're doing here. Okay. Last time, this should be class number 2 for you. This is 102. The first one you went to was structuring mostly the discipleship process. And I want to review that quickly just so we know where we are in that whole thing. What we have there is we were talking about individuals and steps, right? We have the bottom level, which is the spiritually dead. No one in this room is at, and these are the people out on just living in the world. Okay, and how we need to connect with those individuals. Those are the people that we're going to share a lot of information with, we're going to talk to, right? We're really not saying, hey, come serve at my church, because they haven't even been saved, all right? Then we're jumping to the next level, which are the infants, all right? Those are the individuals, again, we're sharing a lot of stuff with, we're feeding into, we're seeing how they're doing. The same level as we move up are the same thing like our kids. Okay, most of us has kids in this room, so let's think about our infants. What do they need from us? They need milk, right? So we need to know how to, as a parent, feed those kids the word. So we're sharing a lot with them. Are we feeding the right things into those individuals? Okay, then it goes to the child is the next step. Well, think about our kids. What do they say? Mine are like, mine, 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 mine. They don't share. Everything they do in a young Christian's lifestyle is selfish. Look at me serve. Look at what I'm doing. They go to work and they're telling everybody about Christianity. It's that energy, but what do they really know, right? That's the piece that we need. So those individuals we need to connect. That's why pastor is so big on serving in the church, okay? You look at the idea that we want to lock these people in and get them to buy into true Christianity. They have to be able to serve. If they're not serving, they don't understand it. Why? Because they get around people like the people at this table, and then they grow as individuals. That's really what we're looking at. So we have the infant, right? We have the dead before that. We have the child, and then we have the young adult, okay? The young adult are those people that are growing, okay? And this is not age-wise. Some of us in this room could be young adults. It doesn't mean that you've been a Christian for 20 years by any means that you're even to the young adult level. Because you still may in that process where a lot of the stuff you do as a Christian, serving, is all about you. Okay, as we move up to the last 2 stages, it's no longer about you. It's about, what do I do for somebody else? And they're other-minded. Okay, and then ultimately the last stage is that parent stage. Okay, and the parent being the one, and what do parents do? It's all about their kids. It's all about developing somebody else. Okay, the parents that are bad parents, what are they? It's all about themselves. Great parents are fostering and feeding them. Elder Mel told me something that's a little nugget that I stole from him the other day. Every night he tells his son, lays his son, 6 years old still, big old kid, lays on his dad and he tells his son, you're a leader, you're going to be a leader, I love you, boom, boom. He just feeds into him every single day. So I start to do that with my kids. Hey, Xander, what do you do? I'm a leader, Dad, right? So what are we going to do? What are we feeding into the people around us? So those 5 stages are kind of what we covered last time, along with the idea that there's a process. Okay, it all starts with the mind, right? When we're changing something in discipleship. Then it goes to the heart. Are we going to allow it to change us? And then it goes to the hands. Are we doing God's work in discipling people? Okay, so that was class 101. All right, today we're now going to build on our leadership abilities. Okay, understanding what we need to do. Now, I'm a huge student of this. I mean, I have a whole library in my house. I have books. Matter of fact, Terry and I yesterday were going over leadership stuff at the office. It's a consummate thing for me. You give me a book or a pastor gives me a book, constantly reading on it, because there's nothing that a leader should stop learning, right? We should continue to learn day in and day out. We should take little things from little people. Today, I'd ask you, there may be 1 or 2 things that you can take from this. Okay, hopefully everything, every sermon, every book, every movie, all right, everything you watch is going to make you better. And that's what this class is about today, so we can get into that thing. Also with the idea that we want to make our church move to the pathway we are, I know it sounds bad, but assimilating people. What does assimilation mean? What's that, Erica?
Kind of copy?
Kind of.
Bring them together.
Bring them together.
Transform.
Unite, transform, good. So if we talk about biology, right? I have a biology major. So if we go biology-wise, we're taking a nutrient, we're going to drop it in a substrate, right? And it's going to turn into something. It's going to absorb, right? It becomes together with that. But it's what it has to do has to break down. Okay? When we talk about cultural assimilation, we're talking about the fact that we're going to take a group of individuals, a minority group. So let's go with the infant, the unsaved, the dead people, right? That come into our church, and we're now going to assimilate them to our culture. Our church does a great job of this because what do? We have core values that are consistent. They're everywhere, and we talk about them all the time, right? We have classes. We have groups. We have Next Step. We assimilate our people to understand what are the things you need to do, right? Pastors, 3 things. Come to church, serve, and tithe. That's how you're a Christian in his eyes. Well, we assimilate our people to understand those things because when you do that, those three things are about what? Other people, not about you. Okay, so as we move forward, that's what this class today is. And I want to do that through a little process. I want to do it through talking about the 6 leadership styles that are out there and us understanding what are they. You may exemplify some of these. Your boss at work may have this leadership style. And then I'm going to give us a result of what that leadership style does. And I'm going to talk about an action of where that leadership style should result from or how it can become better. So you can write these down. We can talk about them and go from there. But the bottom line, I want to read something real quickly. A leader gets better, when a leader gets better, the whole organization gets better. If a leader's not willing to change, the organization is going to have a slow decline. It may be slow, it may be rapid, all right? We have individuals that fall. There's examples of those all around us day in and day out. But it's all about what that leader left for themselves. Most of the time you find out how great a leader is when they leave. Okay? If they've left and nothing changes, they're probably a pretty good leader. But if they leave and it's chaos, they weren't doing things correct. Okay? So when a leader gets better, the whole organization gets better. I'm going to zip through these and then we're going to break these down. So the 6 things I want to focus on today are these. 1, unpredictable leadership. Right? So we're talking about unpredictable leaders. Number 2, domineering leaders. Okay? Number 3, secretive leaders. Number 4, healthy leaders. Number 5, passive leaders. And number 6, empowering leaders. So I'm going to start with the first one. And as we go through these, I want you to think about, do I have this leadership style? Does someone around us have this leadership style? And what can I do if I have these to be better? So number 1, we're going to talk about the unpredictable leader. Okay, unpredictable leaders produce a environment where individuals are hesitant followers. All right, so we have unpredictable leaders and we have hesitant followers. These are the leaders that you have that come in and they are constantly changing things. Hey, I have a meeting at this time, they change the meeting, right? These are the leaders that they walk into work and they have a process. We're going to try this and it changes 6 weeks or 6 months later, okay? Their followers, as they learn this, become hesitant because they don't know what's going on, right? If you have a group of individuals at work that are non-leaders, they need to be told what to do, but you're constantly changing on them, they can't focus. So the result is they're scared. They're constantly scared of what's taking place around them. Okay? And this scared is not a healthy fear, right? Fear is good, but it should be a reverential fear. This fear is, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job, right? So these individuals we need to focus on. I'm going to give you an example. There's an individual, I used to coach high school basketball for a long time. I've had an opportunity to coach at multiple good levels. We've been extremely successful. I worked for an individual that coached at Sandia High School for a long time. We made it to the state championship game. We ended up losing to my alma mater. Great experience. However, I think he may have been a little schizophrenic. Okay, there'd be times we'd walk in and this guy was hugging, right? Everybody good, Rob, great job, blah, blah, blah. 10 minutes later, same result that Rob did, same action Rob had, he all of a sudden was losing his mind, screaming at him and cussing at him. So what did the players do? They didn't know how to act. Do I pass it? Do I shoot it? There was no constant result for what took place, right? So the players were playing scared rather than playing just this nice fear of who they're playing against and going at them, right? That's not the type of leader, right? We had a leader there that was extremely unpredictable and you didn't know what was going to happen. Okay, they smile, they're happy sometimes, we know what takes place. So the key is that these individuals, to be better, have to develop consistency, right? They have to be consistent. Set a meeting at 10 o'clock, show up at 9:50, right? Show up at 9:30. They're establishing consistency. The environment that they have already established is extremely fragile. Right? We want to make sure that these individuals feel secure and they know what they're doing. Okay? Our church does this by our core values. We have 7 core values. We live by those core values. We should all know those core values, and we're consistent with them. If we have a result, right, we mess up on something, we should be able to answer that result with those core values. I'm going to give you this little carrot here. Successful people do consistently what normal people do occasionally. Say it again for you. Successful people do consistently what normal people do occasionally. I can speak for myself. I make things too difficult. Guys, the best leaders in the world are simple. And I love that these two are from Clovis High School because I can think about Coach Roanhouse. Coach Roanhouse at Clovis, 50 years ago to today, still runs veer right, veer left, veer right, veer left, veer right, veer left. Because just like in Remember the Titans, right? It's that power of Novocaine. Just let it keep dripping, right? And they just eat them alive. It's consistency, right? Sports teams that are consistent with the same coaches are consistently winning. Programs and organizations like our church that has a pastor that's solid with leadership style is the same thing. We just keep rising and going. Okay, so we want to make sure that those individuals are consistent with what they're doing.
Can you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, the quote?
Yeah.
Yep. Successful people do consistently what normal people do occasionally. Next leadership style is domineering. Okay? These are our Ds in the DISC personality set that create an environment that's led by fear. All right? So the first two kind of have fear aspects, but they have no problem knocking people over, right? Coming into an environment and say, I told you this is a way you're going to do it, and they point their finger at the individual. Okay? But there still can be success with this, right? So what their result and what they're producing is they're producing compliant followers. Why? Well, if I'm the boss and I tell you something to do, what are you going to do?
Do it.
You're going to do it, right? Because you want a job. Okay? It's hard to do with volunteers because what do? They'll walk out on you. But when you're writing the paycheck, they're going to listen to you. They're going to eventually do what, though? They're going to resent you and they're going to leave. They're going to leave. And that's exactly what happens to these individuals. There is short-term success and then they disappear, right? There's no consistency with these people. So these individuals need to make sure that they're starting to create an environment where people can trust what they're doing and they're starting to ask questions, right? They also create extremely weak teams. Why?
Well, because it's my way or the highway. So there is no team. Essentially, you just do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Following
team.
out of fear.
Okay? So do what I say. And what are these individuals not doing?
There's no upward feedback.
There's no feedback.
No upward feedback whatsoever.
There's no thinking, right?
Collaboration. There's none of that.
There's no collaboration. What do people want to do? They want to be heard, right? So when you're domineering, you can't allow that to happen. We have to be able to ask questions, right? So when we look at these individuals here, right, we want to be able to do what? We want to be able to listen to the people around us. Guys, I work in an extremely successful company, right? In our company, we have 50 people that are there, right? We have a great owner of our company, but here's what happens. Owner walks in, Travis walks in, Justin walks in, and there's fear, right? The bigger the organization gets, the more fear there is, okay? Anybody work, Raquel, you work at a school, right?
Yeah, I work at APS.
Okay, APS, what, high school, middle school?
Elementary.
Elementary school, so that's a smaller school than a high school. High school has 2,000 students, right? Probably.
600 in our.
Okay, so probably 40, 50 teachers, 60 teachers? Okay, all right, so one principal.
Then
Okay.
we have two.
You have two because you're a little larger school,
Yeah.
right? So as you look at the whole thing, when the principal walks in, what does everybody do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's fear immediately. So when you're that leader and the larger the program gets, Pastor Steve, right, the more questions he needs to ask. And the less you do this, you do that, you do this, right? They have to listen. So I'm going to give you this carrot, right? 10 times questioning, right? So the leader in these situations, he asks 10 times the questions versus directions.
This is also the leader that overshares, like takes over the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think about like people in my life that like I kind of not stay away from, but I don't like talking with them because they don't let me talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They just want to take over the conversation, and I'm a pretty like stern like talker myself, and so when you do that to me, I'm like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah. And guys, when you listen to someone, what are you giving them?
Respect.
Exactly. You're giving them respect. And when you can sit there and just listen to someone, it's hard. I've been that person, right? Especially as a coach or a leader of a people, and you know they're saying something wrong, and you got to just listen to it. And then it's all about where you need to go. If you're a reader, Crucial Conversations is a great book for you. Okay?
You crossed over into honor there, though.
Okay. You're right.
You know, if you're honoring their position versus respect, because a lot of times it could go either way. It could be that you're honoring him for the position that he holds in the organization you're a part of versus respect him as a leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
There's
like that.
also the other side of that. In my background, military, you necessarily don't have to respect the person, but you have to respect the rank or the grade. So in that position, kind of coincides with rank and grade. You have to have that mutual respect for not only the individual, but the rank, but in the common goal of what you're trying to achieve together. Because if you don't have no respect in either one of those sides, you're not going to achieve anything.
Yeah.
So it's got to be on both sides.
Exactly. Exactly. Great. Okay. Next leadership style. Secretive leaders.
I can't say anything about this. Next one.
Moving on.
They're creating guarded followers. These type of leaders are the individuals that have a situation that create an environment where they say, that's above your pay grade for you to know, right? You don't need to know this right now. Hey, this is only going to stay inside the executive committee, okay? There's a lack of transparency that takes place. So individuals in this don't think they're good enough, right? They don't think that they should be a part of something because individuals are not allowed to communicate. So what are we establishing? A lack of trust. There's no trust. Okay, so on the same side, what do these people now need to do? They need to create an environment that there's full trust. We just talked about the domineering, just like asking those questions, all right, we need to make sure that they understand that they can come to us. And here's the key. We're leaders, right? They're going to do what we do. If we don't trust them, they're not going to trust us. Right? So if we're going to value what they say to us, we have to come up to them and say, hey, what do you think? What's taking place? Listen to that and allow it to take action. Now, some of the stuff that people are insubordinates or whatever we want to call them may not be the right answer. But they're the frontline people. They're in the battle. They're doing the work. They're going to think of things that we didn't even come to think about that we have to allow them to do. All right? So we have to allow feedback, right? We have to allow transparency. We have to be honest, and we have to allow them to be honest with the things that are around us. In this group of people, right? A team is not a group of people that work together. They are a group of people that trust each other. Say it again. A team is not a group of people that work together. They are a group of people that trust each other. So true. Yeah, I just think I'm a big sports guy. I think I've got great sports teams. That's all it is. They trust each other. They know that, in basketball, they know that this person's going to be on the help side. He's going to defend because I can just guard my guy. And if I miss him, he's stepping over and guarding it. We're all good to go. They make that pass because they already know that Kevin's cutting to the basket, and I don't even see Kevin, but just out of my left eye, I know he's going to be there. He knows Rob's setting the screen, I'm V-cutting, I'm coming off. There's so much to it. It's important, right? It's in the work environment. Right? If you're showing up, right? Great managers establish their people to show up to work on time. They trust that they're there. It's a whole piece of that thing that needs to take place. And if we trust them, they're hopefully going to do their job. Okay?
Give me that one more time.
Yeah, sure. A team is not a group of people that work together. They are a group of people that trust each other. Okay, so the first three, let's just review those. So we have a unpredictable leader, right? Hesitant followers, they don't know what's come at them, they're all schizophrenic. We have the domineering, we have compliant followers that say yes, 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 I'll do whatever you want. Guys, yes people are not the people you want around you, right? You want people that can tell you, but you got to create the trust and you have to listen to them. Secretive followers, right? They're guarded, they're not going to say anything, okay? He doesn't tell me, I'm not going to tell her kind of deal. That one, I'm going to insert my own thing, kind of have that poverty mentality too in that. Right? The victim-minded people in that secretive piece, they're like, well, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, so we need to include an environment that's open. I want to give you a couple questions that you can ask yourself, right? Or ask your employees or people that are below you, how you can be better for some of these first three, right? Number one, how am I unpredictable, right? How am I unpredictable? Number two, what are one or two things to build trust? Number three, and as you're going through this, just think about this in your head, right, as an individual. Number three is how am I or am I ever domineering? How am I domineering or am I domineering? Got two more for you. Number four, what can I do so everyone can share their feedback? What can I do so everyone can share their feedback? And last one, what are three things, and it's nice with the word three there because one is too easy, right? 2 and 3 allow us to really get in depth. What are three things that I can do to care more about our mission? Right? Because if you're in a predictable environment, you're going to have a mission, you're going to have core values, okay? So you should be able to follow that mission and understand what it is. Our mission in our company, right? Our mission is to deliver the most secure and efficient services while maintaining public trust. Boom. Easy. Know it, do it, act on it. Okay? Those are things that you should be able to do. All right, number 4, passive leaders. Hey, it's passive. I gave you healthy first.
Okay.
It's passive. And you'll see why in a second. Yeah, good. I did that on purpose. That's the teacher in me coming out. Passive leaders give you disengaged. Disengaged followers. Yeah, exactly, right? All 8 of you just told me. Disengaged followers. These are the individuals that know there's a problem and don't act on the problem. Work environment. You have a group of individuals that don't get along, right? You have a team that do not get along. They're bickering, they're angry with each other, right? Manager finds the easy path of, let me just go into my office, sit down, close the door, right? You figure it out. You're an adult. Rob, you have a problem with Harris. You two just go figure it out. No, we're the leader. We figure it out. Okay, because the worst thing that we can do as leaders is do nothing about it. Right? They need to see action because what are they doing? They work for us, right? They follow us. So they need to see that we care enough to do something about it. Okay? So doing something is better than doing nothing. Right? So these individuals need to make sure they're following through. When a leader does not address the problem no longer is the problem. Who is? The leader, right? So when the leader does not address the problem is no longer the problem. This is one of the biggest things. John Maxwell says this, right? Okay, how does a leader respond to a problem, right, is essentially the key to that leader, right? It's all about developing the solution to that problem. So if they can't respond to it, they shouldn't be in that position because they're not ready to do that. People feel helpless, discouraged, right? Leaders in these situations don't respond because of that. Sometimes they're just overwhelmed. They have so much going on, they have to be like, I'm just not going to pay attention to that right now. I don't have time, right? So they move on to other things. Okay? So what do they need to do?
Engage.
Exactly. Acknowledge the problem. And bottom line, do something. They need to have action. All right, so the first four are all negative, right? Those are all negative. Those are the ones we don't want to be. You do not want to be one of these type of leaders. But just like anything else, you have to be able to recognize what you don't want to be. Okay? I don't want to be like this team, or I don't want to be like this person. Well, you have to know why they're like that. We have to recognize that. Remove ignorance, right? Because if you don't know what you don't know, you're not going to get any better. So you have to figure out what that is. Okay, the next type of leader is who we want to be. We want to be the healthy leader. Healthy leader. You're going to see some stuff that pops out here that are huge, right? These people know how to plan. They have a vision. They have a direction. And what's the result of that? Their organization is getting better. Their people know the mission. Their people know the values. The people know their responsibilities. They know their roles. In basketball, I used to call it KYP, KYR, right? Know your personnel, know your role. Same thing in the real life. You have to understand where you're going with those things. They're working on their culture all the time. There's alignment of values and beliefs. They listen to their people. They collaborate with their people. They give credit. Sometimes this is hard, right? Leaders are in a leadership place, and they dangle that carrot of credit as like that ultimate extrinsic goal, right? I don't want to give too much because if I tell him how great he is, man, he's going to think he's the best thing in the world. That's all people want to hear is positive feedback. Because then when all of a sudden when you come down and be like, man, Rob, I'm really disappointed in you. Bam, that hits him, right? There's that right hand blow. So it's important that we're feeding the positive. We want to create an environment of ownership. If we don't allow people to have ownership in the secretive environment, right, there's no ownership. If we give them ownership, they're going to do what they want to do. They're going to be successful. They need to be consistent, right, with everything that they do. So what are these individuals producing? What type of follower?
Loyal.
Yes, exactly right. They're producing what I'm going to put here as a faithful follower. These people aren't going anywhere. If you empower somebody, they're not going anywhere. They're going to trust you. They're going to do what they need to do. Okay? So those are good. Now, we look at all these. Hesitant followers, compliant followers, guarded followers, disengaged followers, faithful followers. Definition of leadership is what?
Leading.
Empowering people, right? Probably influence, right?
Giving people ownership.
Ownership, right? And we have all these followers. We have followers behind us. Okay? The last type of leadership was what? What did I tell you? Empowering. Empowering. Empowering leaders do everything exactly the same as a healthy leader except for one thing. They don't have followers. They're developing leaders. Right? They're developing leaders. This word is not what they have. There's a man that runs our church that is an empowering leader. There's no question about it. Everything he does is that he's creating leaders. Why? Look at our church, guys. Look at our church. We don't have one location. We have 4. I don't know if we'll stop at 4. Actually, we have 5. We have one in Texas, right? Okay? We are developing people all over the place to go where we're going. And to do that, he has to create teams that he can trust to do their job. And he does it amazingly. He has people around him that can do everything they can do, right? So he gives responsibility away. The woman at the end of the table, right? Pastor Steve gives a lot of leeway to create programs. Pastor Joe, he gives leeway to run this campus, right? Brian, right? At Rio Rancho campus and with the whole young U group, right? Everywhere, right? We have all these people. Tim, I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. He lets them do their job because he trusts them full-heartedly. Do they report back? Does he know what happens? Absolutely he does. There's no question to that, okay? The other part of what takes place is that we all go out and hire, and this really hit me when I was doing this study to understand that. When we want to find the best people, what do we have to do? Research, right? What do we think? See the results of their work? Here's the answer. You build them. You build them, right? I thought about our company, right? The biggest thing that happens is you can hire anybody. It's the result of what you produce out of those people. If you're not putting your time into those individuals and saying, here's exactly what I want, here's how we do it, and them see you do it, they're never going to be what you want.
Because even the ones that I think of my kids, even my kids that have the most potential that I see, I'm like, you could be so good. If I'm not building them, then they can never reach that potential.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a couple of my kids this year, I didn't see as much growth as I would have liked to have. And I'm like, oh, you could have been here. And I feel like I didn't get you to where I needed to get you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then I have other kids that are on the opposite end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of interesting how, it's, I take responsibility as teacher for myself because I'm like, I didn't do what I needed to do to move you up. And sometimes it's their decision too. It's like, I did everything I possibly could. You're still deciding, you're 10 years old. You can make decisions to not work in my class, fine. But, ultimately it comes down to me. I still feel responsible for what I didn't or did not do.
And you're right. You're the one. It's evaluating your pedagogy style, right? You're the one that's evaluating the results. You're evaluating that's grading the assessment tools, right? And then you're saying, was it me? Was it them? And you're having an open mind. And that's what we have to do as leaders. Okay? We have to build the people around us. How do you know if you're an empowering leader?
I think when you let go of responsibility and you really, like in my class runs seamlessly without me. During my evaluation stuff, they came in like unexpected, and she was like, "Your class runs without you. It's like you're a facilitator. You're not guiding them; they're learning. They're guiding their learning." And when it runs seamlessly without me having to instruct, and that's because the instructing we had done before, and then I let them go and I let go of responsibility, and then they take it on as themselves.
Yep. Erica, you were going to say something, I think. No, you look like you were. Harris?
Just an example that I can relate to travel as a coach as well as I tell teenagers that no one needs help making a mistake. So when they make a mistake, and they are going to make many of them, I teach them to take ownership of their mistake, and when they make a mistake, it's to make them confidently. When they learn how to make confident mistakes, they take ownership and learn, and not only for themselves, but so many of their teammates are learning from them because it's teaching and building them to learn confident mistakes. Because when you make a mistake and they put their head down, that's when I become that coach of, I'm going to show you to be confident so everybody can learn from you to how to be confident, because everybody can learn from you when you put your head down too. So just teaching the kids how to be confident in their own mistakes and take ownership of that.
Yeah.
Just own it.
Yeah.
The road to success is covered with dead squirrels that couldn't make a decision. So you have to make a decision, stand by it, and then take ownership of the good or the bad.
It doesn't matter if it's kids or adults, it's all of us. We have to make our mistakes confidently.
Yep, fear of success and fear of failure, right? And we have a lot of fear of failure, especially in this city. Worst state in the country in school, right? Highest case of crime. We've got to figure it out in some aspects, and hopefully our our government can start to understand that education is extremely important, and we start to move some dollars and cents into that for where we're going. But the key here for leadership and empowering leaders is how deep into an organization does the power of yes go? Okay? What I mean is, do your people have the ability to make decisions? Right? Every organization has the onion, right? You start to peel back the layers. You have the top level. Okay, they obviously can make any decision. Someone walks in, sells something, yep, buy it, sign it, let's cut the check. Then you go to the next level, maybe upper level management. Okay, they can usually say yes. Then we go to the supervisors. They can't say enough yes, right? They don't have another password to get into that. I can't do this. I don't have access to do this. Then you go to the actual worker bees, okay, that clerk level. They don't really have the yes. Well, I would encourage that we start to empower that level to say yes. Iowa State basketball, right? Their coach now is at the Chicago Bulls. But one of the things I thought he did amazingly, that's a huge key, is that he really didn't give positions. You could be 6'11" and be the point guard. You could be 5'6" and be the center. What I thought was huge about that is he understood that everybody should have the same abilities, right? We shouldn't limit people. If you want to do this, you should be able to do this, right? Cross-training individuals. Everybody should be able to replace themselves. So how deep does that yes go is really what marks the ability for someone to be an empowering leader. Okay? Questions so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just as I'm thinking about myself, the question that popped in my mind, just reflecting over the year, because I only have 2 more days left of school, and so I'm reflecting over this year. And I'm curious, because I can remember points in my year where I was domineering, or where I was passive with my kids, or whether I was healthy or empowering. But I guess, is there ever a time where you must use one of the top 4? I mean, because of, and I guess maybe in my case it's different because I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And so I'm leading kids. So they're obviously, sometimes they don't make the best decisions. So that's why I'm there. But I have some kids I feel like I have to be more domineering, because they don't take ownership of what they do. Like if I'm not on them constantly, they're doing nothing. And so I'm like, okay, then you must sit by me all the time so I can ensure that you're working. So that's my question to you. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I think you're looking at overall style versus characteristics of how to lead people. Okay, so your reaction to those individuals and your evaluation of them, yes, has to be, you're going to handle myself differently than you're going to handle Erica, right? Or you may handle Kevin differently. Then you have to step back to the personality types, right? You think in a school set, let's give everybody the DISC assessment. You can figure it out. I'm going to put all my C's here, all my I's over here. Okay, actually, I'm going to put all my I's in the next classroom, and I have all my D's here, right? Okay, so you're gonna figure out what you're doing, but it's important to know who you have. So as a leader, yes, you should know your people. You should communicate with those people. But I think the overarching thing is you don't want to create an environment that the results are these, right? Now, in elementary school, man, I think you want a lot of compliance because you're talking about developing people. So discipline and routine is important. As they mature, right, then you start to think. If you think about a high school freshman class, right, to a senior class, we have an idea where not as much leash is not as long as to there's a lot longer leash. Okay? And as I start to wrap up here, and I'm going to close, I want to go over a couple things how you become this empowering leader. Okay? The first thing that you must do to become an empowering leader is lead yourself. You have to lead yourself. Too many times, right? I probably do it at my own house. I want to lead my wife. I want to tell her everything. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. Right? No. Lead myself. Make myself better. Okay? That old adage. Control what you can control, and that is you. Step 2, lead other people. So lead yourself first, and then lead other people. Here's where it starts to get hard. You're leading yourself, you lead other people, right? You're overarching a group. Then you got to be me and you got to come in here and lead leaders, right? You got to tell people that you respect, that you know, that have great jobs, they know how to lead other people, and you got to lead them. And that's really still here. That's still the healthy part. Now you get to the empowering part, and you've got to lead teams of leaders. You've got to release them. And again, how deep does your yes go? All right, guys, so I appreciate it. Man, this is good stuff. If you have questions, ask me. Hopefully I didn't stray you off too far from what needed to take place. But, man, this process is awesome. You know, Miss Baird has really established this and where it's going with 101 and 102. What you guys do in Next Step, I can't tell you what that's doing, because we are establishing a church that is going to reach places that no one's ever gone to, and we're keeping people around forever, and that's important for what we have. Okay?
Question.
Yes.
You mentioned Crucial Conversations.
Yeah.
What other books would you suggest?
Every one of them. Every Maxwell book is great.
Maxwell.
Yeah, John Maxwell has a bunch of them. I'd start with probably developing a leader within you first, and then it'll unfold the rest of them for you.
One we did last month.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you Joshua's been?
Joshua's
Yeah.
Book?
Mm-hmm.
That's on our calendar.
Yeah.
Travis, do you know Patrick Lencioni at all?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Very
Kind
good
of-
stuff.
Kind of a funny name, but it's called Getting Naked is the name of the book, and it's about leading teams, right?
Yes.
It's about putting it all on the table and being totally transparent, and that's a really good one too, I think, for leaders.
And one to tie that in, I'll give you one more, and then I got to close with prayer, is the heart of leadership. Okay, because ultimately leadership is relationship. That's why Jesus is who he is. Our relationship with him and how we develop a relationship with the people around us and the leaders that we lead, that book is all about relationship, right? It's the relationship you develop with the people, what you're doing, and how you're serving other people. Okay? Rob.
There's a book that I tried reading a long time ago, and it was called The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And it read so far above me. I had a really hard time grasping what he was trying to put down. But I got it on Audible, and I listen to it now whenever I'm driving back and forth from Alamogordo. And it's a different dynamic when you're listening to it instead of trying to read it, and well, it was for me. But there is a lot of good stuff.
Because they say the big words for you, you don't have to try to figure them out.
Well, you're trying to place it,
Exactly.
Where would I have ever used that?
Yeah. All right.
You
Let's,
need a redneck adapter.
Guys, again, I appreciate it, everything we're doing. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time, Lord. Lord, we want to make sure that we can have our hearts in the right place, that we take these leadership styles and we don't do the four that we're not supposed to, Lord, and we try to become healthy and empowering leaders. And ultimately, Lord, that we're empowering, that our heart is in the right place and that we're doing it for others first. We're serving, we're tithing, we're going to church, and we're developing and guiding people around us, Lord God. Lord, we thank you for this church. We thank you for this opportunity to be together, to learn and feed off of each other, Lord. We thank you for our pastors and all that they do. We say these things with an open heart for all the things around you. So in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.